talk few words on the topic.
Friends, all of you are aware that arbitration has come into practice for two reasons. One is an arbitration award is executable anywhere in the world. It is not like the court judgments. There are a lot of difficulties in executing a court judgment in a different country. But whoever is the signatory of New York Convention, if they approve, the awards can be executed like a court decree. The second important and foremost point is that the arbitration proceeding will take lesser time. But unfortunately in India, it happens in a different way. Some people even jovially say that the arbitration proceeding is not an alternate to the litigation, it is the first step to the litigation in India. This happens because of various reasons. In my practical knowledge, since we have handled many arbitration matters in India, I am going to highlight some places or some issues which tend to delay your proceeding, in which you should be very careful. If you are careful in handling those situations, you will be able to handle the arbitration expeditiously. These are all 5 points. One is reference level itself. There can be a possibility for a delay. Why it happens? If the arbitration clause is not clear, or if there is a component which can make that arbitration clause redundant or frustrated, then you have to go to court, and the courts will finally say that there is no proper arbitration clause. For example, big companies say that our executive director in charge for litigation will be the arbitrator, or he will nominate an arbitrator. But over a period of time, this designation will go. When this designation goes, the arbitration clause will remain in the contract. So you cannot go and replace it in a level when there is a dispute. So the arbitration clause gets frustrated. When the parties do not choose an institutional arbitration, you are aware that institutional arbitrations are not just the infrastructure, they have certain rules to follow. So when those rules are very clear, then the time is saved in conducting the arbitration proceedings. Then when the parties do not specify the arbitrator, you see in some cases, if both the parties agree, you can even go to the extent of appointing an arbitrator in advance in the contract itself. The total contract itself may be for 3 months or 6 months. So you can even find out an umpire or an arbitrator who will settle the disputes if any arise. Then you need not go. The main point here is you should keep away the courts from your arbitration. As much as possible, you don't go to the court for an interpretation, you are saved. Otherwise, we will be ending up in a huge delay. The next is if the courts go into the details and merits, including the limitation, you are aware that if there is an arbitration clause and if there is an arbitrable dispute, then the court should not see anything when you are seeking an application for appointment of arbitrator under section 11. Nothing should be seen. But some of the courts may try to evaluate the merits, some of the courts may try to find out whether the claim is within limitation or not. All these things should be avoided. So, go to the arbitration clause and keep it very clear. I have given some citations, maybe I will mail it to you also later. Then in the appointment of arbitrators. When the appointment of arbitrators, if you have prescribed a procedure in your arbitration agreement, then you need not go to court. When you don't prescribe, when you just put the Indian Arbitration and Conciliation Act will apply, or whatever it will apply, then every single point has to be interpreted by the court. So you have to go to court, file an application, wait for months together to get a solution on that. So try to define every single point in the arbitration agreement itself. When the procedure of appointment of arbitrators is incomplete, sometimes you will put, there will be a 3-member arbitration panel who will decide. This will be a simple arbitration statement. But if you say that party A will appoint one, the party B will appoint one within 10 days gap, and then within another 10 days both the arbitrators should decide the third one, then it is a clear procedure. Otherwise, it amounts or it gives scope for interpretation. When the scope for interpretation arises, the other party will not agree. So you have to go to court. As I told you, once you go to court, your time is wasted in a big way. When courts are forced to appoint arbitrator other than the person mentioned in the arbitration agreement, you are aware that if one of the party is having the right to appoint an arbitrator within a particular time, and if they don't use it, then court can appoint an independent arbitrator. So the party should stick on to the deadlines effectively. Then jurisdictions of the courts. Sometimes you may be in Bangalore, you might have taken your bank guarantee in Bangalore, so you will try to initiate the proceeding also in Bangalore. But the jurisdiction will be in Bombay. What will happen? Finally, the jurisdiction point will be taking your at least a year's time. It may go up to Supreme Court also, and you will be losing your time. So if you specify a jurisdiction, that clearly means all other courts are excluded. So you just go to the correct court and seek your remedy. And court's assistance in taking evidence. This is another point where you will be losing a lot of time. Many parties will be waiting, many claimants will be waiting for the return statement to be filed, admission denial to be completed, and then they will go and file an application in the court summoning some witness to come. That witness will not receive the summons, or summons will get delayed. So finally the arbitration process will get delayed. So once you are ready with your claim, be with your witness list also. Start the proceedings immediately with the permission of the arbitrator. So you can avoid wasting your time in bringing the witnesses to the arbitral tribunal. And disclosure also same way, you should plan it in advance and then ask for them, because otherwise now you have tools, you can go by Right to Information Act if it is a government department. Otherwise the parties will simply come and say, we don't have those documents. As I told you, the pendency of cases in India is very high. All of you are aware that 3 crore cases are pending all over India, among which 45 lakh cases are pending in high courts, about 60,000 cases are pending in Supreme Court. So as much as you keep the courts away from your arbitration proceedings, you will be successful and earlier in getting the award. And another difficulty in our system is, after you get the award also, you have to wait for 90 days to go and execute it. There is no other way, you have to wait for 90 days. And another problem will arise. Some of the full stops will be missing, some of the names will be having mistakes, some few grammatical errors will be there. So the claimant will be so keen in going and getting all those things corrected. So he will file an application under Section 33, which will again postpone your deadline to appeal, because the arbitrator will have another 60 days to dispose of that application. So small errors, small things which are not going to, as long as it is not affecting your operative portion of the award, try to avoid Section 33 applications also. That is also very important. And another thing is, you see, delivery of arbitration award comes to an effect only when the awards are delivered on the parties. There are judgments, Supreme Court judgments, to show that even the advocate receiving it or a representative receiving it does not amount to proper service. So you have to make your arbitrator to send it directly to the company. Same way, even in institutional arbitrations, it happens. They just give to the lawyer and keep quiet. The other party will go and file a Section 34 application after 6 years. In one case, 6 years delay was condoned, saying that they did not receive the award by proper service. So that's all. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks a lot, sir. Indeed, that was a useful insight on do's and don'ts while drafting an arbitration agreement or arbitration clause. Our next speaker will exclusively speak on determining the law of an arbitration agreement. I would like to invite Mr. Ajay Thomas from LCIA to throw light on drafting of arbitration agreements.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At the very outset, thank you, Gaurav Pandey, thank you, PhD Chambers of Commerce and Industry, for having invited me and given me this opportunity to present my views on a topic which finds very little debate and mention in India. And thank you, Madam Chairperson rather, for that kind introduction. Just one small correction. I actually represent LCIA India and not LCIA. LCIA is a parent body and LCIA India is the Indian subsidiary of the LCIA. And the whole idea behind establishing LCIA India was to get that same London quality of administrative services at the doorstep of Indian parties at Indian rates. So there is indeed a difference between LCIA, the parent body, and LCIA India. So I represent LCIA India. I haven't, contrary to a lot of people's expectations, I have not flown in from London. I do carry a bag along with me wherever I go, which is much to the envy of my good friend Jayalan Murthy. But then LCIA India is actually based not in London, but in New Delhi. Okay, now coming back to my presentation, I've been told I get exactly 10 minutes to make my presentation. This reminds me, of that old saying. I'm sure many of you have heard that before. With advance apologies to the ladies in the audience. A good speech or a good presentation should be like a lady's dress. It should be long enough to cover the subject, but at the same time, it should be short enough to make it interesting. So ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I can assure you that my presentation will be short, interesting, and will indeed cover the subject that I've charted to cover today. So what exactly is the law of the arbitration agreement? Well, if you look at an agreement between parties to arbitrate, it can take two forms. It can either be an arbitration clause in an existing contract, or if your contract does not have an arbitration clause, you can have a supplementary agreement, which is usually called a submission agreement, which again is nothing but expressing the intention of the parties to go to arbitration. Flowing from that, there is a doctrine called the separability doctrine or the separability presumption. Now, what exactly is this separability doctrine or presumption? Essentially, this is a presumption which presumes and assumes that your arbitration clause is a separate and distinct agreement from the agreement which contains the arbitration clause. Because it has been held time and again by courts in India and overseas that an arbitration agreement, because of this distinct characteristic even survives the termination of a contract. And so now you have an arbitration agreement or an arbitration clause. Now, it is extremely important to know what is the law which applies to that arbitration agreement. See, when you're looking at the legal matrix applying to arbitration, essentially you have the proper law of the contract, which is also known as the governing law of the contract. You have the procedural law of the arbitration, which is also known as lex arbitri. And then finally, if you use an institute, if it's an institutional arbitration, you have the rules of the institution. But in addition to this, there is another set of laws which applies to the arbitration agreement, and that is called the law relating to the arbitration agreement. And this, again, is a topic which has, there's extensive commentary on this, on the law of the arbitration agreement. At the same time, there's extensive confusion. It's an aspect of arbitration law which unfortunately does not get a lot of coverage in terms of publications in journals. But if you look at scholarly writings, there is a fair bit of information, and there's a fair bit of work which has been done on expanding this concept and telling us what it's all about. So what is the importance of the law relating to an arbitration agreement? What is the significance of this added layer of a law which applies to an arbitration? Well, essentially, the law of the arbitration agreement is important because it decides issues relating to the existence of that arbitration agreement or the arbitration clause. It decides the formal validity of that arbitration clause. It also decides jurisdiction. Does the tribunal have jurisdiction or not, in proceeding with that arbitration? That also is decided by the law which relates or governs the law of the arbitration agreement. The interpretation of the arbitration clause also to a large extent hinges on the law of the arbitration agreement. Termination of the arbitration clause is arbitrability of the dispute. Can a dispute go to arbitration or not? For example, in India, can a matrimonial dispute go to arbitration? It cannot. Can a competition law issue go to arbitration? It cannot. Consumer court related issues, matters which are in the exclusive domain of the consumer courts, cannot go to arbitration. Criminal law matters cannot go to arbitration. So it's extremely important to know which is the law. I mean, this is from an international perspective. This would not be really relevant from a domestic perspective. So, for example, just to give you a simple example, when you're talking about criminal law, betting is legal in Singapore. Betting is legal in Macau. So if your arbitration law relating to the agreement is Singaporean law, then it's not prohibited because betting is legal in Singapore. Gambling is legal. So it's extremely important for these reasons to know in an international context as to what is the law of the arbitration agreement. I think I missed out on one thing. In the Indian context, again, the law of the arbitration agreement assumes a great deal of significance because one of the grounds on which you can challenge an award, a domestic award under Section 34, and also an international award under Section 48, is that the arbitration agreement is not valid under the law to which the parties have subjected it to. So unless you know what is the law relating to the arbitration agreement, you wouldn't know whether a challenge lies under this provision or not. And that's why it's extremely important for you to know what is the law relating to the arbitration agreement. So what are the methods and tests to determine this law? The first point I'd like to make here is that if you expressly state in your contract that the law of the arbitration agreement will be, say, the laws of England or the laws of India or the laws of Singapore, then, well, you're expressly stating it. So the question of determining the arbitration law will not, or a law of the arbitration agreement will not arise. But my experience, working in an institution and also as an arbitration lawyer prior to that, shows that very rarely in an arbitration clause would you ever see anything which makes a mention of the law relating to the arbitration agreement. If I may just take a poll out here, how many of you have actually seen or cited a clause in a contract or an arbitration clause in the contract which expressly mentions the law of the arbitration agreement? Amar has seen it. And also,
mention that the substantive law shall be in India.
no, that's a difference. So that's a substantive law of the contract, the underlying contract.
Under that arbitration clause,
Yes,
in the same context, I continuation applies rather than in two different clauses.
True.
In the same clause, I say that this arbitration agreement shall be subject to.
okay. No, that's good if you say this arbitration agreement shall be subject to. If you say that this contract shall be subject to, because that's what it comes, I take it back to my first slide. There's a difference. The arbitration agreement and arbitration clause has a separate and distinct identity, from the underlying contract. So very rarely, in my view, if you've done it, that's great, because, that's extremely important, to actually specifically mention the law.